folks, good morning from a windy Amsterdam Schiphol airport. It's Monday, January 30th, 2023. I'm standing alongside runway 27, the Buitenvelderbaan. Currently, there's a lot of wind blowing from the west. "23 knots from wind direction 280. Runway 27 currently is the only runway in use for landings. Runways 24 and 36 left are used for takeoffs. So these planes are landing into headwind, almost dead on. You can still see they have to correct for the wind. It's approximately 7 degrees Fahrenheit, centigrade, or 45 degrees Fahrenheit approximately. First plane that we see approach is China Southern Cargo Flight 495 coming in from Shanghai. 777 cargo plane, 2 years old, being followed by an A320 and an Airbus A330. Hope the sound is okay. When I was setting up just now, I heard that because of the strong winds, there is some interference. I tried to get rid of it, but I have absolutely no idea where it's coming from. Earlier last week, when the wind was more calm, didn't have this issue, so this is definitely wind related. Hope you guys can still hear me properly, or at least decently. At the moment it's dry, it's getting more clouded. We started off the day with some blue skies. Now, if I pan to the right a bit further, you can see the erect wind vane, indicative of the direction of the wind and also the strength. Luckily, no precipitation of importance is predicted for today. Well, at least not for this part of the country. But you never know. If I look at the clouds, it seems that I also have to check for showers although at the moment and for the next couple of hours no precipitation has been predicted, and the precipitation that has been predicted is more for the eastern part of the country, but still always good to be cautious with all the electrical equipment out in the open over here. So despite the headwind, mostly headwind, you can see the pilots still have to do some work. This Air Serbia plane coming in from Belgrade. You can even notice the wind as I'm panning, as it's affecting my arm and the speed with which I pan and how smooth the movement is. It's a bit jittery. I'm standing behind an electricity house. Hey Rick, good morning. So I'm standing in the wind shadow of a small electricity building. But still the wind creeps around it, creating some turbulence. Try to set up as most out of the wind as I could, but so this is KLM flight 768, Airbus A320. Now, unfortunately, cannot do two things at once, so age of the plane I cannot look up just yet. So for now, we're standing at the only runway in use for landings. The next two planes are already visible. Let me quickly have a look at flight radar. In the foreground we see United Airlines flight 909 coming in from Chicago O'Hare. A Dreamliner, 8 years old already, delivered in November 2014, and behind it is Delta Airlines flight 74 coming in from Atlanta. That's an Airbus A330-300, 18 years old, was delivered in February 2004. Just a quick check, is my audio and is the video okay for you guys? I also saw my router was having a little worse reception than normally, so I'm hoping the video is coming through to YouTube properly without any jitters or low bitrate. So this would be Delta Airlines flight 74 from Atlanta, and behind it is KLM flight 1140. That's a Boeing 737-800 coming in from Billund in Denmark, and that is a 9-year-old plane. Fit is fine right now. Thank you so much for your input, Rick. Hopefully it stays that way. So over the weekend, last Saturday, you guys probably already know, it came to me as news, the news that Flybe was filing for bankruptcy and would no longer be flying to Amsterdam. When we were standing at the Polderbaan last Friday, as a gentleman was passing in front of us who was taking a picture of the airplane. But as we were standing at the Polderbaan last Friday and we saw at least one, I think we might have even seen two Dash 8s from Flybe take off. Those have probably been, in retrospect, the last for now to fly on Amsterdam Schiphol. A sad realization, because I think Flybe was the only operator that still flew Dash 8s to Schiphol. So, unless of course a new operator will be operating turboprops, for now it seems that we won't be seeing any turboprops, at least not commercial passenger flights, land at Schiphol. Of course, back in the day, KLM Cityhopper used to operate the Fokker 50. But these, of course, have all been replaced for the new Embraers, as have the Fokker 70s and 100s, although those were turbojets. Coming up next, British Airways Airbus A319 coming in from London Heathrow, and behind it an EasyJet A319 coming in from Venice. So as I was saying, the wind is blowing from the west, 280 degrees. A code yellow weather warning was issued by the Dutch Met Office for the northernmost provinces for stormy conditions and wind gusts. Meanwhile, the next A319 is approaching quickly. if my camera can focus on it. That of course would be helpful. Peter PDK, PDK, goedemorgen. Good morning to you too, sir. Welcome to the stream, and all other viewers who tuned in the meantime as well. Welcome to the stream. It's Monday morning. It's quite windy at the moment. Wind is blowing from the west. We're standing at runway 27, which is the only runway in use for landings at the moment. These for the morning hours, windy conditions have been predicted. Later during the day, the wind is expected to gradually decrease somewhat. For the time being, we're standing front row to witness all the landings. So these planes are now landing in western direction, which means they are facing headwind mostly, but they do have some crosswind. You can see they do have to do some work, but it's no full-blown storm, fortunately, for the people inside. Now coming in is another A330. This would be Delta Airlines 56 coming in from Salt Lake City, and this is an Airbus A330 that's 5 years old. And things are moving so quickly that leaving the camera for a second to look at flight radar means the plane passes by. So as long as the traffic is going to be back to back, I won't always be able to provide you with all the details of all the planes that you see. I will of course try to do my best to give the most information I can. So next up are an Embraer 195 and an Airbus A320. The former coming in from Copenhagen, the latter on the left coming in from Helsinki. The SAS Embraer is 15 years old already, and the A320 from Finnair in the background, 19 years old. Saudi 747 cargo landing shortly, about 10 to 15 minutes I think, depending on the queue. There is a holding pattern above the North Sea at the moment, Rick is telling us. Meanwhile, good morning, Gosse. Yeah, it's busy, and with only one runway in use for landings, Focus, focus, focus on the Embraer. As the wind is too strong at the moment for them to open a second runway for landings, apparently. Too much crosswind for all the other runways. You also saw a police helicopter. There it is. On patrol. These helicopters take off and land from the Schiphol east. Which is at the other side of where we are standing. So we'll be seeing a Boeing 747 shortly, apparently, depending on the way on the queue, of course. For now, it's going to be back-to-back landings. I'm not sure if they will open a second runway for landings later during the day. Well, probably as the wind tapers off, but for now, in the coming hours, I'm not sure. We'll have to see. With the prevailing wind, I'm sure that this will be the preferential runway for the morning at least. Right, let's turn around the camera. More traffic is approaching. We see the next two planes coming up. First up is Delta Airlines Flight 162 coming in from Minneapolis. It's A330-300, 6 years old. Behind it, a Dreamliner 787-800 coming in from Philadelphia, American Airlines 204, 7 years old. And there is a holding pattern over the North Sea, not yet above Flevoland by the looks of it, but there is a queue. And I can also see number 3 is the Boeing 747-400 from Saudi Cargo coming in from Jeddah. That's a plane that's 28 years old, ladies and gentlemen. January 1995. Now, sorry for missing the landing of the Delta A330. Hopefully you guys aren't too mad at me for that. We can already see the Queen approaching on the left. Before it, the Dreamliner from American. For those of you just tuning in, welcome to the stream, welcome to AMS Live. My name is Boy. We are standing alongside runway 27, where landings under windy conditions take place at the moment. Just to show you once again the wind vane. You can see the prevailing wind direction, you can see the erectness. It is blowing quite hard. It's not a full-blown storm, but it's definitely windy. Other than that, it's dry, a bit cloudy. It's approximately 7 degrees centigrade, which is 45 degrees Fahrenheit approximately. Some lovely light beams in the background. Of sunlight trying to get through the clouds. Beautiful. For now, no rain has been predicted. Some showers in the northeastern part of the country later in the afternoon. I will, of course, have a look at the weather radar every now and then to see that nothing is coming this way. Awesome. So the first queen already in the pocket. Coming up next, Air Europa flight 1091 coming in from Madrid, 787-900 Dreamliner, and behind it KLM flight 592, that's a 777-200ER coming in from Johannesburg, South Africa. Both are already visible, so let me turn around the camera so you guys can see as well. If you guys are enjoying the content so far, consider giving the stream a thumbs up. Help me feed the algorithm and reach more people like you who enjoy content like this. Also, if you want to see more streams like this in the future and you haven't done so already, consider subscribing to the channel. That will really help to get me a wider audience of like-minded people like you as well. Also, by turning on notifications, you will get a heads up whenever I go live again in the future. Let me turn around the camera. Here is the 777 coming in from Johannesburg. More underway. The queue is filled to the brim. Rick is telling us that the Emirates A380 Super is scheduled to arrive around 12:30. Still flying above Eastern Europe. Well, as long as it stays dry, I will stick around until the A380 has landed, assuming that it will still be on this runway, of course. You never know with Schiphol, although with the current wind conditions and the wind strength in particular, I think this runway will remain in use for the rest of the day, or at least until the wind has subsided significantly. Um, Michael Gorelik says that Al is coming in from his home country, Israel. Meanwhile, a lovely sight here with the sunlight shining over Schiphol East through the clouds. The next planes are coming in are Welling from Valencia, and behind it a KLM coming in from Mumbai. Quickly back to the battle station, make sure you guys are able to see the planes land. It's back-to-back action. Doesn't allow me a lot of time to look at all the chats and look at flight radar all at once. Meanwhile, the Queen is taxiing towards the cargo platform as an A330 from Delta passes in front of it. Cargo platform lies more over here. If you look in the distance, you see some of the cargo airplanes, and in front an Embraer setting out to take to the skies. Meanwhile, at this side of the airfield, landing planes are coming in, the first of which is 777 coming in from Mumbai. So despite the wind, the strong wind, we haven't seen any apparent difficult landings. Of course, the pilots do have to input to make sure they stay on course, but so far, no iffy landings, no bumpy landings, no go-arounds. It's mostly headwind that the pilots are facing, winds blowing more or less directly from the west. This runway, of course, being oriented to the west. After this plane, we'll have a few wide bodies coming in again. The first of which over here. This would be KLM flight 741 coming in from Cartagena, 787-900 Dreamliner, 6 years old. Right, let's quickly turn around the camera, focus on the next plane coming up. There it is. That would be Turkish flight 1951 coming in from Istanbul. It's an Airbus A320-200, 14 years old, and now flying over Amstelveen and almost over the Amsterdam forest. Behind it will be KLM flight 982 from London City, that's an Embraer, and behind it an EasyJet A320 coming in from Bristol, I think. Photo for you, good morning. Updating us that the Super from Emirates coming in later at the beginning of the afternoon is also in the Travel to the Future livery. Always nice to see some special liveries coming by. We did see this livery before. Not uncommon, of course. I think it was also when I was standing here that it was landing, but I'm not sure anymore, either here or the Polderbaan. So first up, KLM 982 from London City. It's an Embraer 190. 12 years old. Behind it, EasyJet flight 26161. It's an Airbus A320 coming in from Bristol. The plane 10 years old. Then another plane from British Airways coming in from London Gatwick. And then a plane from LOT, L-O-T, LOT, not sure if that's the way you should pronounce it, the Polish national airline. So first up, this Embraer. You can see the smaller planes, the lighter they are, the more they have to combat the wind. Meanwhile, the sun is coming out a bit more. If we're not careful, we're going to need the sunscreen soon. But nah, it's mostly overcast. This is just momentarily, unfortunately. Photo for you telling us that Polder and Kaagbaan are used for starts. That's right, for the time being. This is the only runway in use for landings, which is why there was a queue over the North Sea earlier with a holding pattern. We'll have to wait and see for how long the current configuration will remain in order. With Schiphol you never know. But I wouldn't want to land on another runway than this one if I were a pilot under these wind conditions. Otherwise you will be in for quite some crosswind. So as long as the wind direction stays the same, chances are, until the wind subsides in strength, you will see most traffic, if not all traffic, land on this runway. Oh, it's always deceptive. Those birds are probably much closer by than you'd think, but it's always a scary sight. Birds and airplanes next to each other, visually at least. So for now, we have a lot of narrow bodies coming in. The next two already visible. This is the Polish LOT or LOT. Embraer. Smooth landing, as thus far all landings have been. Coming up next is the EasyJet coming in from London Gatwick. It's an A319, 13 years old. Behind it is an A320 from Vueling coming in from Bilbao. That is 7 years old. Number 3 will be SAS 1553 coming in from Stockholm. A320 Neo, 1 year old. Hey Kev. Well, if I'm able to capture the plane your daughter is on, that would be sweet. Luckily for her, it's not going to be an extremely bumpy ride. They're all facing headwind now. Let me double check and see if the weather radar is still good. Clouds are getting a bit darker, but it seems that we're okay for now. I'm also checking a website that is giving us the predicted runway usage. And it basically predicted that the remainder of the morning and the early afternoon, runway 27 will be the dedicated landing runway. Which is good news for now. Also for those who want to see the A380 Super from Emirates later, as it's making its way over to Amsterdam. Chances are it's going to land over here. Of course, with Schiphol runways, nothing is ever set in stone. But for now, the short-term outlook is good. Now the only thing that we need to hope for is that it stays dry and will not start to rain. But for now, the next 3 hours, the radar is clear. But you never know what might arise in the meantime. So the shaky footage would be me battling with the wind. So there's an Embraer coming in from Frankfurt first. And I think there's also another A330 making its way over here. It's flying downwind. So we'll see that in the next 10 minutes or so. Probably going to be number 3. Come on, touchdown. And there you go. So yeah, all in all, still smooth landing so far. I haven't seen any bumpy landings. Photo for you. Nice to have seen you. See you again soon, man. Take care. Everybody else who is watching, for those of you who just joined us, welcome to the stream. It's AMS Live over here at runway 27. My name is Boy. Wind is blowing from the west. Although it's not a full-blown storm, it's definitely windy. With the Dutch Met Office having given off code yellow warnings for the northernmost provinces because of wind, stormy conditions. Runway 27 is in use as the sole runway for landings. There are 2 runways in use at the moment for takeoffs. Currently we're waiting for 2 planes. Let me turn around the camera so you guys can see them approach. And then I'll quickly look at the flight radar, give some background information. So the first plane to appear or coming this way is Ryanair flight 5559 coming in from Dublin, Ireland. The plane delivered in March 2010, 12 years old, and behind it is a flight from Lufthansa, flight 2302, coming in from Munich, Germany, Airbus A320. That is 3 years old, was delivered in July 2019. Now, during my last stream, I also made a grave error in saying that Inverness was England, which of course it isn't. I was already corrected during the stream by one of the viewers. Unfortunately, I didn't see it until after the stream was done and I was checking the sound. But Inverness, of course, being Scotland and not England. So apologies for all the Scots and all the Brits who I might have offended by saying that. What we're seeing is a small private jet that I didn't see on flight radar. The fact that it is landing on the runway here and not on 22 says something about the wind strength, because normally speaking, if they have the chance they will land on 22, they can follow the approach for 27, but then bank to the left and land on 22, making for a shorter taxi to the general aviation platform, which is at Schiphol East. Now, I'm not well versed in knowing my private airplane model, so I wouldn't be able to tell you which one this is. What I do know is that another plane is coming up, and that one would be the 737 from Ryanair coming in from Dublin. Now, in popular culture, Ryanair has a certain name when it comes to landings, but I definitely didn't see that just now. So the private jet is on its way back to the platform, the general aviation platform at Schiphol Oost, Schiphol East. Lovely color scheme with the light blue at the bottom. You don't see that as often. Typically it's more black, white, grey. Similar with cars in the Netherlands. Right, enough of that. We have a Lufthansa Neo. Oh, I'll go around. First go around. And I know why, because I was experiencing probably the same gust that lowered my camera. Okay, so we'll see that one come back shortly. First go around of the day, and there was a gust just as it was about to touch down. It also threw me off a little. We have some bigger jets coming. First, this A330. One of the many A330s of Delta Airlines. Actually a buttery smooth landing. You can see hardly any spray when the reversers are applied. Runways are not very moist anymore. Behind it is a 737 from KLM coming in from Charles de Gaulle, Paris. 13 years old, and then we will be seeing the next bigger jet, the heavy A330 from KLM, flight 676 coming in from Edmonton, Canada. The A330 from KLM, that is number 3, is 17 years old. And after that, number 4 will be Iberia Express flight 3722 coming in from Madrid. That's an A320-200, 20 years old. Folks, if you guys have joined us just now, welcome to the stream, welcome to AMS Live. My name is Boy. We are standing alongside runway 27, currently the only runway in use for landings. Why, do you ask? Because there's quite a big wind blowing from the west. Not a full-blown storm, but enough to have caused an A320neo from Lufthansa to go around just now because of a gust. Despite the wind, there's no significant weather. It's cloudy, mostly overcast. Temperature is 6 or 7 degrees centigrade, 44, 45-ish Fahrenheit. No precipitation in the forecast for at least the next few hours. Some showers in the afternoon for the east and northeast of the country. Now, of course, there's always a slight chance that the shower might also come over this part of the country. So I will remain vigilant. But for now, no rain in the immediate future. So all landing planes at Schiphol will land in front of us. The Airbus A320neo from Lufthansa that had to go around just now is already on the downwind leg of the traffic pattern. So we will be seeing it again in 15 or 20 minutes probably, but we'll have to see. Earlier this morning there was already a holding pattern over the North Sea. I didn't have the chance to see the if that's still the case. We also have 2 other places where holdings can take place over the province of Zeeland in the southwest of the Netherlands, just below Rotterdam. And there's a 3rd area where holdings take place to the northeast of Schiphol, over the northern part of the province of Flevoland. So if there's a lot of inbound traffic, they typically wait and turn around in circles over there. Let me quickly have a look at flight radar, see what's cooking. Well, the holding pattern over the North Sea is still active. The other 2 don't seem to be active just yet. But yeah, a lot of traffic still inbound. Rick keeping us informed about a KLM Dreamliner from New York now entering holding pattern above the North Sea. So yeah, folks, don't go anywhere if you don't have to. Plenty of things to see here at AMS Live. If you do want to look back the missed approach, I quickly had a look and it was at the 1 hour mark of this stream, so 10 minutes ago. And if you missed it, you can go back to the 1 hour mark. Around the 1 hour mark is when the missed approach took place. Now, if it's going to stay dry as has been predicted, I intend to stay around at least until the Airbus A380 Super from Emirates has landed. Not too long ago it was still flying over Eastern Europe, probably more in the vicinity of Germany by now, but it is expected to land around 12:30 local time. Now, I have absolutely no idea what my camera lost focus just now. The airplane was in the middle of the field of view. Okay. Rick, keeping us informed about the whereabouts of the A380 Super, has just crossed the border with Hungary. Thank you so much, Rick, for keeping us informed. So this is KLM flight 758 coming in from Panama City. It's a 787-10 Dreamliner, the biggest in the fleet. Say, buttery smooth. folks on board probably wouldn't have a clue about the wind conditions based on that landing. Of course, as I said before, for those of you who tuned in later, I'm standing more or less behind an electricity house, more or less as much as possible in the wind shadow. But if you look in the middle of the screen, you can see the wind arrow or bag or whatever it's called. It's erect, it's blowing a little bit from the right. So there is a bit of crosswind, which is why you see the pilots, they have to do some input to set the plane on the ground smoothly. Most of the wind is headwind, but there is a crosswind component. Me, myself, informing us about the 777 KLM Orange Pride livery inbound in 15 minutes. If you guys don't know, it's a sight to behold. I think it was because of support. I think it was the Olympics or something, that it was in support of the Dutch team, or maybe they flew on the airplane to the location where the Olympics were at the time. I'm not sure anymore, but I think it was because of something with the Olympics that the livery was created. If you haven't ever seen it, which I'm sure you guys all have, but for those of you who haven't, it's quite something to see, with a gradual gradient of the KLM blue into the orange of the Netherlands. If you guys don't hear a lot of the plane sounds, that is because in actuality I don't either. I already turned up my sound, my microphone volume as high as I thought was still responsible without distorting the sound because of it being too loud. The thing is, the wind is blowing away from us and we're further removed as we see the police helicopter again. Let me see where. There it is. It was just taking off from the Schiphol East platform. Apparently it had landed in the meantime without me seeing it or noticing it. The thing is, the wind is blowing away from us, so the airplane noises are already blowing away from us. On top of that, you don't see it because my camera and all camcorders can zoom in quite far these days. So we're standing further away from the airplanes than, for instance, when you are spotting alongside the polderbaan. This is the second attempt. So that was the Airbus A320neo that had to go around earlier because of a sudden gust. That also made me cause to lose focus of the stuff. Camera pointing downward all of a sudden. So coming in now is British Airways flight 430 coming in from London Heathrow. It's an Airbus A319 that is 21 years old. I can also see that a NetJet Embraer Phenom 300 is also entering the landing traffic pattern. Very pretty airplane, the Phenom 300. Behind the British Airways A319. Come on, focus. So, why this is happening, I don't know. So the Phenom 300 will probably also land on 27 as the other private jet that we didn't see on flight radar but did land in actuality was also using. So what's coming next? We have another Neo coming in, A320 Neo from Pegasus, coming in from Istanbul. This is a 5-year-old plane, was delivered in June 2017, and behind it, number 2, is an EasyJet A320-200 coming in from London Stansted in the Bordeaux livery. Well, if you look at the photo, it's basically the normal livery with the word Bordeaux written alongside it. 11 years old, this plane. And Rick, when KLM had finished putting on delivery on this 777, they used to fly it to countries where events like the Olympic Games were taking place to promote the Netherlands. There you go. I knew it had to do something with the Olympics. Meanwhile, let me not forget to also capture planes. I see your chats on my laptop, which means that if I look at your chats or if I look at flight radar on my phone, that means I'm not manning the camera. If I do that for too long a time, the planes will just pass by. That's not why you guys tuned in, so apologies again if I'm not able to see all your chats or be able to respond to all of your chats. So, last Friday, in the beginning of the stream at least, we had one Flybe-8 taking off from the Polderbaan. I'm not sure, I don't remember anymore if we saw more Dash 8s that day. But on Saturday on the news I saw that Flybe was filing for bankruptcy and stopped flying to its destinations immediately. Which means that in hindsight, turns out that we probably witnessed one of the last Dash 8s take off from Amsterdam before all Dash 8s were grounded. Now steady. Those were some wild looking inputs just before touchdown. For a moment I was afraid we were going to see another go around, but they managed. But it was a little iffy. So number 1 is a Tarom flight from Bucharest, 737-800, that is 5 years old, and behind it coming in a 777 300 coming in from Willemstad, Curaçao, and that is 7 years old. So it probably had to spend quite some time in the traffic, in the holding pattern, before actually being allowed to land or to continue towards Schiphol. Right, let's turn around the camera and see how the 777-300 is doing with the wind. Rather effortless. And in the background we see an A350 being pushed back for departure, probably, or is it for another reason? So more private planes ahead. Let's see if this one is going to land at 27 or make a last minute left-hand turn to land on 22. First up is a privately owned Bombardier Global 6000 coming in from Zurich, and behind it is a NetJets Embraer Phenom 300. So those are two private jets currently on approach for 27. Let's see what happens. So a Bombardier Global 6000. So far, seems to be steady. It has to do some corrections. Oh, touchdown. There you go. So the touchdown was a little late, but all in all, very nice landing. Now, in the distance, hardly visible just yet, but soon better visible, an Embraer Phenom 300. Coming in from Palma de Mallorca, the Canary Islands. 7-year-old plane, and behind it will be a KLM flight from London Heathrow, flight 1002, and that would be a 22-year-old plane. Then we're going to see a Dreamliner coming in from New York JFK. Andrew telling us that's Snoop Dogg's plane landing. Awesome. Was that the Bombardier or is it the Embraer that we see right now? Is Snoop Dogg performing in the Netherlands anytime soon? Does anybody know? So the holding pattern above the North Sea is still active. The other two locations for holdings are vacant, but there are still several big jets turning around in circles, waiting for permission to continue to Schiphol. We're still at the only runway in use for landings as the Phenom already touched down. We're waiting for the next plane. Tim Long asking, do small jets have reverse thrusters? Well, they do. Most of the small business jets have their engines mounted on the back of the fuselage, and when you look closely after landing, they have sort of buckets that flip in front of the exhaust exit at the back of the engines, diverting the exhaust gas flows upward and downward, and basically also back forward by the curvature of those buckets. So not like you see over here that something slides to the back, as we see a camper of some sort, or is it an ambulance? I have no idea. I've never seen this vehicle before. Can we read what's written at the back? No, I cannot. So those small planes, they definitely have reversers. They just look different from the commercial jets. So here the reversers are already back in their normal position. At the back of these engines there are typically buckets, for lack of a better name, that flip around, basically block the exhaust gas exits, diverting the exhaust gas upward and forward, which in effect applies reverse thrust and breaks down the airplane. So the Dreamliner also didn't seem to have any difficulty with the wind. Smooth landing. Meanwhile, little Phenom also taxiing back. The other plane, Bombardier, ahead of it. Back to the general aviation platform, which is located in the back. You can see other planes being parked. A trijet in the middle. Several other planes. Wind still blowing, as you can see. The next plane, a KLM 737. Smooth landing. So let's see what's coming up next. We still have a few narrow bodies before the next big jets are coming. First to arrive is KLM flight 1954 coming in from Zurich. That's an Embraer 190, 9 years old, and behind it is an Airbus A319 from EasyJet coming in from Edinburgh, 16 years old. And then KLM flight 1926 coming in from Geneva. That's a 737-700, 13 years old. And then number 4 is 777-300 from KLM in the Orange Pride livery coming in from Cape Town. And the Orange Pride triple is 15 years old. Right, let's quickly turn around, man the camera again for the next plane to land. Also a very smooth landing. So far only one go around from Lufthansa, an A320neo. After a sudden gust. Police heli incoming. Indeed, I think, where is it? It's just a speck on my screen, of course. There it is. Will it land at Schiphol East? Probably. Let's have a look. Of course, once the Orange Pride triple is nearby, I will focus on that. Let's see if we can see the helicopter land. Seems to be hovering still, more or less. Although not yet descending. It's gradually descending to land by the looks of it. Will we be able to see it touch down? I think it's in front. Yeah, it's in front of the building. So we will be able to see it land on the helipad. Apologies for the jittery image. That's the wind blowing. Hey, what's it going to do now? Oh, it's taxiing to the parking, probably. No! That is so typical. Yeah, well, we're not going to see that touchdown. So, a bit disappointed. The police lets us down. So let's focus on what we can see. And that's the Orange Pride triple coming in from Cape Town. Well, that looked like a textbook landing. Nothing bumpy at all. So next up is a Boeing 737 by the looks of it, from Iceland Air, from Reykjavik. Behind it an Embraer from KLM coming in from Oslo. The Iceland Air coming up first is a Boeing 737 MAX 9. That is 3 years old. The Embraer coming in from Oslo from KLM is 9 years old. Behind it, number 3 is an Airbus A320 from Air Arabia, 8 years old. Hey baby, guten Morgen, willkommen. Everybody else who also joined us just now, welcome to the stream, welcome to AMS Live. My name is Boy. As we're watching Iceland Air from Reykjavik land. The Max 9. Here at runway 27 at Amsterdam Schiphol Airport, which is currently the only runway in use for landings due to the strong wind blowing from the west. Although it's not a full-blown storm, it's quite windy. The Dutch Met Office even issued a code yellow warning for the northern provinces for stormy conditions and wind gusts. Temperature wise, it's a bit warmer than the previous few days. It's 7 degrees centigrade approximately, although it does feel colder with the wind blowing, which equates 7 degrees Celsius to approximately 44-45 degrees Fahrenheit. It's cloudy, not fully overcast anymore. We do see some patches of blue sky in between the clouds, so it's opening up a little bit. No significant precipitation was expected for this part of the country, although some showers were expected for this afternoon in the east and northeast of the country. So we'll have to keep our eyes out. Because there's always a slight chance that one of those showers drifts a bit too far to the west and hits us. I hope the sound quality and the video quality is okay. With the wind, it's hard to get the sound right. And I also was seeing that my reception, the Wi-Fi reception, was a little bit less than I was used to on days prior while streaming. Hopefully the stream bitrate is still on par with what you guys have seen during the last couple of streams. So there's still a long line on flight radar of landing airplanes waiting to touch down at Schiphol. The pilots are facing a headwind mostly, but there is some crosswind. You can see in particular smaller planes are more susceptible for it. Since the stream started, thus far, we've only witnessed one go around from an Airbus A320 Neo from Lufthansa coming in from Munich. If you guys want to see it, then go back to the 1 hour mark of the stream. It's approximately at the 1 hour mark, 45 minutes ago, that this happened. Make sure you come back live, of course, after that, but if you missed it and you want to see, go back to the 1 hour mark approximately. So, as long as the weather stays calm, well, calm, I should say, if it stays the same. Meanwhile, a few cars pass us by with relatively high speed. Don't know what that was for. So long as the weather stays the way it has been so far, I intend to stick around at least until the A380 Super from Emirates has landed, which is expected to arrive around 12:30 local time. Meanwhile, another helicopter is coming in. Let me see, there it is. One of the police helicopters that also is based on Schiphol. Quite agile. Its gear is down, I can see, so this one is going to land as well. Now the question is, will we be able to see it land, or will it disappear behind the wall, if you will, that we saw happen earlier? It's already going in the same direction. That's not promising any good. Yeah. So that's the last we will be able to see of that. Let's then quickly turn around the camera, focus on the planes again. Interesting to see Alitalia livery still being used. Didn't they go bankrupt a few years ago officially? Or did they do a go around, so to speak? With fresh capital, fresh new start. So the queue is still filled to the brim. Hardly any time to look at Flight Radar to see what's up next. First up, another Transavia 737. And we'll soon see a little bit of sunlight coming in between the clouds. There's a patch of blue sky. always nice. As this big bird is approaching the runway. Wonderful landing, buttery smooth. Of course, those bigger planes are not as susceptible for wind as the smaller planes are. They're not immune. They do have to do some work, but not as much as the smaller planes. And smaller planes are coming up. First up, an Embraer 190 coming in from London City, operated by KLM Cityhopper, 9 years old, and behind it, another private jet, a Learjet 75 from Clermont-Ferrand in France. I had to look where that is. It's a 5-year-old plane, delivered in January 2018. And there's a 737 from KLM coming after that, coming from Copenhagen. If you look at flight radar for inbound traffic for Schiphol, you see the sky is still very much full. And all the planes so far, and fingers crossed it will remain that way, they have to land on this runway, which is the only runway in use for landings. Has been all morning, is expected to stay so, but you never know for sure. It's still Schiphol. Now, this plane is turning around. Seems to be making a landing on runway 24. A variation that we've seen before, a break off to the left. The smaller private jets break off to runway 22. These planes, if they do break off, it's to land at runway 24 in this instance. Of course, they can also land on 22, but then they would break off earlier than was the case. So next up will be a private jet, a Learjet. Let's see what it's going to do. Will it break off for 22? Or will it continue to land on runway 27? Meanwhile, let me double check the weather radar, see if we're still in the clear. So far for the next 3 hours, no precipitation seems to be forming. That's good. Let's quickly turn around. There it is. You can see the reversers being applied at the back of the engines. Some something we were discussing earlier during the broadcast. If you look closely, you will see them go back now. A system like that is on all private jets, so they can also land on very short runways with application of maximum brakes and the reversers. Now there's an Embraer and an A321neo coming as numbers 1 and 2, and number 3 is KLM flight 767, which is another 777-300ER coming in from Bonaire in the Caribbean. 13-year-old plane. I can also see that KLM flight 604, a Dreamliner coming in from LAX, is also flying downwind. So if you guys need a wide body heavy fix, don't go away. Big birds are coming up shortly. Meanwhile, the sun is coming out a little bit. Hopefully it doesn't impair the image quality with the backlight. As my tripod nearly toppled over. Folks, if you guys are liking what you see and you haven't done so already, consider giving the stream a thumbs up. Help me reach more people like you who also like content like this. If you want to get notified whenever I go live, subscribe to the channel and switch on notifications if you haven't done so already. This too will help me reach more people like you who like content like this. So we're standing alongside runway 27, where today all the landings take place. We have strong wind blowing from the west. Not yet a full-blown storm, but it's definitely stormish, if that's a word. If you look to the water, you can see here too. I'm standing in the wind shadow of a little electricity house of sorts. So I'm a bit sheltered from the wind, but not completely. The wind makes it a bit difficult to get the sound right, so there's a lot of wind noise probably. Also the wind blows away the engine sounds. The wind is blowing away from us, so it's a bit harder to hear the airplanes. It's not just you, I hear fewer sounds as well than, for instance, when I'm standing alongside the polderbaan. So while some airplanes struggle a bit with the wind, thus far we've only seen one actual go around, and it was around the 1 hour mark of the stream. If you want to rewatch it, that's where you need to go back to. Politie Spotter NL, goedemorgen, good morning, and good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening to all the other viewers as well, of course. We're waiting for the first plane to come. It's probably going to be Embraer 175 from KLM, flight 1342 from Billund, a 5-year-old plane, followed by KLM flight 1072, that's a 737-800 coming in from Manchester, and a 22-year-old plane. And then number 3 will be KLM flight 604, which is a 787-10 Dreamliner coming in from LAX, and that's a 2-year-old plane. Politie Spotter asking the biggest plane that we have spotted today. Well, I think it's been the 777-300s. Unless, I think, well, we also have had one 747-400. I think in terms of length, the 777-300 is a bit longer actually. So we've had one 747-400, one Queen, two or three helicopters, several private jets, several triples, several 330s, also the Orange Pride 777 from KLM. We're still waiting on the biggest of them all, Emirates A380 Super, coming in from Dubai, expected to land around 12:30 local time. Not sure exactly where it is right now. Let me zoom out a little bit. Well, I see that there's a 747-400 coming in from Nairobi first. And the Super has just crossed the German border over from Czech Republic, and given the fact that several holding patterns are in use at the moment, it's probably going to be a bit delayed because this is the only runway in use at the moment, and it has been throughout the morning. And last time I checked, it's also expected to stay that way because the wind is blowing from the west. This is the best suited runway to land on. If there are any bird spotters, please help me and tell me what I'm looking at. Just a few meters, I think it's 10-15 meters in front of me. Don't know what it is, but it's sitting here relaxing in front of me. If anybody knows, please let me know in the chat or via one of the other ways you can reach out to me. I am no bird spotter by any means, other than birds with engines. So I have no idea what we were looking at. This bird, however, I do recognize as a Dreamliner from KLM. This is the big bird from LAX. Careful that my tripod doesn't tip over with the wind blowing as well. Meanwhile, the sun is coming out and it's also still shining a bit through the clouds, providing a lovely view. If I zoom out a little, you can see it as well. Although it's probably a bit overexposed by now. Let me also adjust the iris setting and also add the ND filter so that the image stays good regardless of the direction I'm filming in. Female attention! Female Kestrel Falcon. Awesome. Miran also checking in. Mr. MS. Rightly so. Windy conditions. What better way to spend the day than looking at some birds? Here we have another small one coming in. Oh! Well. That was still making quite a steep bank just before touchdown. Or did I see that incorrectly? Surprised it didn't go around, but So yeah, another fellow plane spotter chilling over here in the grass. I'm in good company. So only one go around so far. If you've missed it, look back at approximately the 1 hour mark in the stream. You can see the A320neo from Lufthansa going around. At the same time, I was also having a bit of camera difficulty because of a sudden wind gust, so that's probably why it had to go around. Second attempt, no issues at all, smooth landing. Now here you can also see the wind is definitely not yet subsiding. So next up we have a Dreamliner and a triple coming in. Meanwhile, you can see the triple being towed to the Schiphol Oost, the east part area, probably for maintenance. You already saw the hangars. That's where the maintenance takes place. Meanwhile, the 777 is also coming closer and closer. That's United flight, no, sorry, Emirates flight 9989 from Dubai. The 777 that we see is 9 years old. Meanwhile, the next traffic is inbound is KLM flight 984. That's an Embraer 190 coming in from London City. 13 years old. Behind it is another Embraer 195 coming in from Aberdeen. KLM flight 1442. And that plane is 1 year old. Still much more to come. It's all back to back now. Still the only runway in use at the moment, runway 27. Meanwhile, let me also quickly take a sip of water. Let's see. Politiespotter NL. Kan je een shout-out naar mij doen? Natuurlijk. Shout-out naar Politiespotter NL. And all the other viewers. Shout-out to you guys too. Rick still informing us about upcoming traffic. The Emirates 380 above Germany, flying northeast of Frankfurt. First up, an Embraer. In the distance, that's most likely the 738. Okay, just having a little technical difficulties over here. Things seem to have resolved again. And the first appearance of the Schiphol Scarecrows, K5. I haven't seen them since the start of the stream. Now the sun is coming out. So what we see approach at the moment is the Embraer coming in from Dublin. 14 years old, KLM flight 934. Then after that will be KLM flight 1188 from Bergen, another Embraer 190. So number 7 or something, I'm not sure exactly. There is a 747 coming in. Look at the flight radar. Still busy in the sky. All planes need to land on this runway, of course. Makes it a bit difficult to see exactly when which plane is going to arrive. There's holding patterns active over the North Sea. It's also very busy over the province of Flevoland, which is to the east of Amsterdam. If you look at flight radar, you can see a lot of traffic. It's a continuous line of traffic coming in. Meanwhile, the wind is not slowing down just yet. Still very much going on, as you can see. The sun is coming out a bit more. If I zoom out, you can see some patches of blue sky. That's good news. So far it's been very cloudy. but the clouds appear to break up a little bit. We're still tracking all the landing planes here alongside runway 27. So there's definitely a crosswind component to these planes landing. They have to correct for. Oh! The second go around, ladies and gentlemen. The Dreamliner, for some reason, it seemed to be making a smooth landing, but still going around. Well, didn't see that one coming. Really thought it was having a smooth landing up to then. So there's an Embraer coming in first, and then a 737, and then as number 3 we have the second queen of the day. Now, this plane to me appears to be quite high, so I'm wondering what it's going to do. Probably land at runway 24. Okay, so the next plane making its way over here is also visible. Meanwhile, okay, so quickly turn around the camera because the second Queen of the Skies is coming this way. Awesome, awesome. So the score for today, 2 queens, 2 go-arounds, lots and lots of wind, and we're not done yet. We're still waiting for the ever getting more closer A380, the Emirates Super. It has almost crossed the border from Germany to the Netherlands. Still a lot of other traffic as well that wants to land, so we will have to wait and see how much delay it's going to have. For now, we are not going anywhere. If you guys are enjoying the stream and you haven't done so already, consider giving it a thumbs up to help me reach more people like you, so they can also see content like this. If you want to stay updated of upcoming streams, consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already. That way, by turning on the notifications, you will receive an update whenever I go live. It also helps to find the stream better for other people. It feeds the algorithm. Meanwhile, the sun is coming out more and more. The sky is getting bluer and bluer. Hopefully, the video isn't overexposed. It seems to be alright. So coming up next, let's see, is Boeing 737 from Munich, KLM. It's hard to keep you informed of all these planes because it's non-stop back-to-back action all the time. So my apologies for not being as informative about the backgrounds of these planes. It's a constant battle with the wind. Here too, even though I'm standing behind an electricity house to provide some shelter from the wind. Next up is KLM flight 916 coming in from Southampton. This is an Embraer that's 5 years old. Behind it is another Embraer from KLM coming in from Frankfurt, and that one is 4 years old. For now it's a parade of narrow bodies making their way over here. There's another wide body coming in, a Dreamliner coming in from Atlanta. Big one, 787-10. Now it seems to be number 4 on arrival. The mom asking if the Falcon is still sitting in front. No, it isn't. Unfortunately, it's gone. The car has parked nearby, so That scared away the Falcon. Kuni also, good day to you. Welcome again. For those of you who just tuned in, we're standing alongside runway 27, currently the only runway in use for landings. Why is that? Because we have wind blowing from the west. Although not a full-blown storm, it's definitely windy, making runway 27 the most appropriate runway to use for landings. You can still see the wind is blowing quite fiercely. Also shows in the water. The wind is making waves. So far, we've seen 2 go-arounds, the first of which you can see around the 1 hour mark in this stream. The second was later and was around the 2.5 hour mark. These have been the only 2 go-arounds so far from the moment we've been live. Most of the landings have been relatively smooth. Wind is mostly headwind. There is a bit of crosswind for these planes, but it's mostly headwind. Meanwhile, the sky is getting bluer and bluer. It's really opening up more and more. The wind is definitely not something you would expect with weather like now. Wind is expected to subside somewhat over the day, gradually. So later today you might see other runways in use other than runway 27 for the landings, but for now this is the only runway in use. The reviewer, greetings from Northern Ireland. Well, greetings to you too, and all the others. We are waiting for the Emirates Super to show itself. It has now crossed the border and is flying over the east of the Netherlands. But since there are also a lot of other planes that are queuing up to land, we'll have to see how long it might take before it's actually going to land. All morning, one, if not more, holding areas have been active. We have 3 in the Netherlands for Schiphol. The one that has been in use the most today so far is over the North Sea for west inbound traffic from the west and northwest, such as the planes coming in over the North Atlantic tracks from the United States and Canada. We also have a holding area over the province of Flevoland, which is in the middle of the country to the northeast of Schiphol. That's for traffic coming in from the north and from the east, such as Eastern Europe, but also the Middle East and the Far East. Then there's also a third area for holding over the province of Zeeland, which is the southwesternmost province of the Netherlands, below the city of Rotterdam. That's for traffic coming in from the south, southwest. As this is the only runway in use, planes have had to hold as we see yet another small private jet coming into land. Here you can see the reversers at the back of the engines also being applied. A topic we talked about earlier during the stream, when the question was asked, do these small jets also have reverse thrust? They do, but they work a bit differently, but the principle is the same. Meanwhile, another KLM Embraer by the looks of it, making its way over. Embraer 175. Bit difficult for me to see the planes at the moment. First of all, because of backlight on my video screen. Second of all, because of the reflections on my video screen. So I just try to follow the contours as good as possible. If I look to the left, I see nothing yet. So where is it? Oh, there's a plane taking off from 06. 24, sorry. 06 is the other way around. And there is the private jet we saw land earlier. Taxiing back to the general aviation area, where also the helicopters we saw earlier land. Is located. Air France hop. Is this the plane coming in from Rennes? I haven't checked. Let's turn around the camera. See if I can also have a look at flight radar once more. Still busy. First up is a KLM 737 flight 1008 coming in from London Heathrow, and behind it is another KLM flight coming in from Port of Spain. That's an A330-200. Then another flight coming in from Dublin, Ryanair, Boeing 737-800. Then a flight from KLM coming in from Basel, and then another KLM flight, both Embraer 190s, coming in from Düsseldorf. Still busy. Hey! Go around number 3. Third go around of the day at 2 hours and 55 minutes. So last half hour we've seen 2 go arounds, and that makes the grand total 3. So even though it's not a full-blown storm, still windy enough to cause some go-arounds. No go around for this A330. No issues with the wind at all. All go arounds. Well, no. The second go around was a Dreamliner. If I recall correctly, that is. So the scores: narrow bodies 2, wide body 1. can see that the Emirates Super is now coming closer by. We'll see if it can go ahead to Schiphol straight ahead, or if it first needs to do the circuit and hold. Of course, with the go around we saw just now, traffic pressure has only increased and the chances of planes having to hold additionally has only increased. Well, this Embraer certainly didn't have any difficulty landing. See, planes are still struggling with the wind. Good fun to watch for us, not so much fun if you're in the plane. This Embraer neatly touching down. No issues there. For now, still a lot of back-to-back narrow bodies. We are expecting the Emirates A380 Super. It's getting closer and closer. Although I'm not sure if it's in a holding pattern at the moment above the province of Flevoland. Look at the bird, swimming against the wind, bravely withstanding the high waves. Respect for that bird. Now, unfortunately, the Falcon that was sitting in front of me earlier has left and never came back, which is a pity because it was nice company to have. Meanwhile, I'm being informed a politie spotter that our Emirates Super is continuing to descend to 6,000 feet. So that's good news. If it's also making its way over to Schiphol, that's even better. It can also, of course, be descending and still in a holding. But it will come eventually, that's for sure. Meanwhile, the next plane is already at the horizon. KLM flight 1008 that went around just now is making its second attempt to land. Let's see how it does this time round. Solid. Maybe a bit hard, but solid landing. Nothing to see, on to the next. So the Emirates Super now appears to be number 6 or 7. I've lost count. All the labels of Flight Radar are overlapping, so it's one yellow mess of information. It's definitely coming, so ladies and gentlemen, stick around if you want to see today's Emirates Super land. It's a special livery, worth sticking around for. I know I will. In the meantime, this Embraer smoothly touched down. And guys, I hate to be a broken record, but if you are enjoying this, other people might also enjoy this. So if you haven't done so already, consider giving a thumbs up to the stream. Help other people find this content and enjoy it as well. People like you and me. Subscribe to the channel if you wish to stay updated of upcoming streams. Make sure you put on notifications so you get a heads up whenever I go live. Subscribing also helps other people, like-minded people like you and me, to find this content and enjoy it as well. Thank you so much for your ongoing support. It's amazing to see so many viewers from so many countries all enjoying the same thing. Really fulfilling. Great fun. Another Embraer about to touch down. As if there's no wind at all. Smooth as butter. The downside of the wind, of the sun being out, of course, being the backlight that we see as the planes pass us by immediately. This time of year it's still an issue. Hopefully in a few months from now that's no longer a thing, at least provided that we will be broadcasting around the same time. However, I'm looking forward to the summer as the light gets longer, opportunities to stream from Schiphol increase. One of the moments of day, also very interesting for you guys to tune in, is the evening arrival rush hour, typically around 6 p.m. local time, between 5 and 7. A lot of flights are coming in. If two of the north-south oriented runways are in use, you will see parallel landings and back-to-back landings in action. Of course, this time of year it's still dark by then. That will soon change, particularly if we will also switch back to the summertime, when the clock gets put forward an hour, or backward? No, forward. Which immediately makes sunset an hour later. So yeah, that's something to look forward to in the upcoming months. Of course, being out without gloves on and without my coat on and several layers of clothing is also something to look forward to. Although it's definitely doable, particularly now with the sun being out. But the wind, I think, is affecting the sound quality, and I don't know exactly where to find the source of it. If anybody has an idea, let me know. Because the sound was way better when the wind wasn't blowing as much as today. But yeah. You have to make do with what you have. I did try to troubleshoot to find the source of the crackling sound, I think it is. Or at least that's what I was hearing when setting up this morning, and each time when the wind is out. It's not the rustling of the dead cat that's over my microphone. But anyway, I think, let me also double check on my laptop. On the left hand side of the screen, number 2 is the Super. First up, a measly A330 in comparison to the Super behind it. Now, I'm not going to follow this plane entirely, just to confirm its touchdown. and not that it's going around. Okay. Smooth, smooth, smooth. No go around for the plane, but the camera does go around to the Super, now also being illuminated by the sun. We had to wait a while. It's, I think, half an hour later than scheduled, but it's busy, as you guys probably have seen. Runway 27, the only runway in use for landings, so it's been busy. Now, I was just checking to see if Flight Radar was able to give me some information about the age of the plane, but it says not applicable, not applicable, not applicable, which is odd. So out of all the planes, this one it wasn't able to give me any background details about. Bit of a shame. Another plane being towed to Schiphol Oost, Schiphol East, the maintenance area. Of course, the Super leaves quite a bit of wake turbulence, so any planes following it need to keep their distance, otherwise they're for an additional bumpy ride. Let me see what's coming next. So there's two Embraers coming up, there's an A321 coming up, and there's another A330 from Turkish coming in from Istanbul. Also a 777-200 from Guayaquil coming in from KLM. So yeah, let's see. Big Meester, thank you so much for your contributions today. Hope to see you again soon. Have a nice day, man. Now, I think I will stick around till the 777 of KLM has landed. That will allow us to also capture the A330 from Turkish and a few of the preceding planes. After that, I think I'm going to end the stream for today. So still a couple of planes ahead. Alexico also leaving. See ya. Thanks for joining. See you soon. So the traffic pattern is still fully packed with 5 or 6 planes all coming on final. We don't see them just yet. We typically only see 1 or 2 at the most. Another little Embraer. Hopefully it won't be too susceptible for the wind. And hopefully my camera doesn't lose focus. Still have to paddle the winds as I rotate the camera. The wind also captures it, makes for a jittery pan and tilt. That's just part of the game. See the second plane on the left, the next one, the number 2. Wonderful, wonderful. For a moment I thought it was still a bit high, but it proceeded with the landing anyway, and it turned out alright. No issues there. So first coming in is in Air France A321 coming in from Paris Charles de Gaulle. Numbers 2 and 3 are the A330 from Turkish and the 777 from KLM. time I do hear some fireworks being set off by the Schiphol scarecrows. Ashwin, lots of love from India. Lots of love back to you from the Netherlands, from windy Netherlands. Turkish A330, almost at the threshold to land. Well, no issues there. And then we have the 777 from KLM. You can see that there's crosswind from the right as the plane is facing us. Of course, it is going to the runway to the right. Now you can see it's also turned more in line with the runway. So it did have to crab a little. This plane too. Another smooth landing. Now folks, I'm going to wrap it up for today. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed what you saw and you haven't done so already, give the stream a thumbs up if you will. Help other people find this content more easily. If you want to stay updated of upcoming streams in the future and you haven't done so already, consider subscribing to the channel so that you can get notifications whenever I go live again. In order to receive those, make sure you also put on the notifications once you've subscribed. Thank you all so much for joining me today. It's been a blast. We've had 3 go-arounds, we've had a few helicopters, we've had some sun, we've had some clouds. It's been great fun. Hope to see you guys again soon. Take care for now and enjoy your day.